The stocks I'm about to mention assume we don't go into a recession. After I mention these stocks, we'll get into what just happened to Microsoft and AMD. Hey, quick heads up before this video begins. If this week goes very bullish, some stocks that I would love exposure to, but I don't have exposure to, you'll see why on the first one. Microsoft, followed by FICO and Intuit. I have no positions on any of those, so I'm just giving you sort of a free heads up. My favorite stocks right now, still Apple, Amazon, Ubiquity, watch that one, and Robinhood. And then some that I might be open to buying the dip on, Palantir, we'll see, Nvidia, AMD, we'll see how the week goes. I'm torn on that one. And you'll see in this video also why. Palantir, Enphase, as for SolarWarn, they're seeing some of their sales drop off because of concerns over the election. You know, the removal of credits versus keeping credits or accelerating them, right? Etsy, I'm a little too nervous about the consumer, the discretionary on, and still a little nervous there on where we sit for Tesla for Q3, Q4. But I have to say, giving you a heads up on some of these, I'm not necessarily making any moves right now. You know how to find out if I make every single move or any move that I make. But I do think some of these names are very interesting, and I'm specifically interested in my favorites, Apple, Amazon, Ubiquity, Hood, and Microsoft, FICO, Intuit, which I don't have any exposure to yet, although I think I'm going to have some time before feeling like I need to rush in. We'll see how it goes. The election's still coming up. Let's get into the video. Well, the first major earnings are in, Microsoft and AMD. Let's talk about them. We'll talk Microsoft first, then we'll talk AMD. We'll touch on Intel, First Solar, and some of the others. But most important here, what's going on with AI? And are we going to be okay tomorrow? Well, that depends partly on how markets want to trade going into JPOW. Personally, I don't actually think Jerome Powell is going to be that big of a catalyst. I think earnings are going to be the driver. So tomorrow we'll have focus on the next batch of AI earnings. But first, let's talk about this batch of AI earnings. So initially, Microsoft shot down over 6 to 7% because they had a miss on some of their cloud and intelligent cloud revenue guidance. This led markets to sell not only Microsoft down, but Nvidia down. Multiple other stocks were red across the board. It wasn't until we got guidance in the earnings call and an explanation in the earnings call as to what happened that everybody kind of went, oh, okay, the AI play, at least for now, is still in motion. And that's what we got from both Microsoft and AMD. In fact, Microsoft says not only are they adding to their AI portfolio of AMD chips, Nvidia chips, and their own chips, but one of the reasons they're adding chips is because they do continue to see demand growth, and they're seeing an acceleration in demand growth for Azure. This is a really big deal for Microsoft, and it should help companies like Amazon also push up, given that it seems like, at least on an institutional level, we're still seeing more demand for AI. Now, Lisa Su's opinion of why this is happening is not because people necessarily want to keep investing in AI or because they think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Lisa Su instead has this perspective that you have to invest in AI. You have no choice, because if you don't invest in AI, you're going to lose your operational efficiencies. Now, I'm going to be trading tomorrow morning pretty actively going into the Fed meeting. Personally, if I had to guess, and this would be my crystal ball, it's possible you have some fear going into the Fed meeting. But honestly, once you get the Fed meeting passed, and I don't think the Fed's going to give us what people want, that is the tee up of the September cut. I've already talked about that in a previous video. But if earnings keep going like this is good. This is bullish. This is a time to start thinking about, you know what, maybe you don't actually need hedges on AI, at least according to these companies, because they're doing fantastically. So if you want to see exactly how I position, make sure you're part of the Stocks and Psychology of Money group. Link down below. You can bundle them up with the other courses on building your wealth. My P&L right here, 85K for the day. And let's see how green we can make tomorrow as well. We'll report it to you. Anyway, let's keep going with what we had. And again, go to meetkevin.com. If you have questions, email us at staff@meetkevin.com for those programs on building your wealth. So when it comes to some of the numbers that Microsoft gave, they gave a lot of talk about how they grew chats about 155%, or they grew usage or AI image generation or whatever year over year. The problem with that is in my opinion, they're really comparing, because they said since the first half of the year, they're comparing really January to July of 2023 to January to July of 2024, which isn't really fair because AI usage in January, February was pretty much flat in 2023. Like there was no AI usage. It exploded towards the end of March and really took off March, April, May. So of course you're going to have more growth comparing 24 to 23 first half. They should have compared Q2 to Q2, but those numbers would not have been as impressive. I guarantee it. Okay, I can't guarantee it, but that's my opinion. So it doesn't surprise me that they kind of played with those numbers a little bit. And I have to say, Lisa Su, she was asked, hey, how's the demand going into next year? And one of her answers was, as I already said, well, they have no choice. They have to invest in AI. But the other answers that she gave, I was a little caught off guard by. Let's just put it this way. She says she's asked about it on the conference call, and she goes, well, she's asked about demand, and she says, well, we're very happy with the progress we're making on our MI300 chips. We're getting those chips into people's hands. We're doing a great job. We're a strong piece of the AI story. We're ramping supply. We continue to invest in software to help, let people sort of enable these chips inside of their businesses. And so she kind of dodged some of the demand questions a bit. She did at one point say, when somebody again asked about demand, she says, quote, overall, we're very pleased. We feel very good. We're on track to launch, and then she goes back into the product cycle. We're on track to launch the MI325 later this year and the MI350 at the beginning of next year, which we think will compete with Blackwell. That's very bullish. Now, she did give this. She did say, overall, we remain bullish. Markets need more compute. So that sounded decent. It wasn't like the kind of bullishness that you would have seen last year. So I think you're starting to see a little bit of a slowdown in bullishness. But I have to say, any of my suspicion there was relatively offset when I heard about the numbers from Microsoft. I mean, really, and I said it before. I don't have any positions on Microsoft, long or short, but I said it before the Microsoft earnings came out. I said, look, Microsoft is, if there's any company that can take out a money printer and just print money, it's Microsoft. They have such great margins on their products, and they just keep growing. And quite frankly, that's what they showed us here. In fact, they see in the next quarter Azure to grow 28 to 29%. And they see Azure growth growing and accelerating so that way they can serve more of the growing AI demand that's out there. That's their opinion. So honestly, that sounds really bullish. They say we continue to invest in the demand that they see, and then they're asked like, "Hey, are you just buying a bunch of chips just to buy them, or what?" And they're like, "Well, no, we're buying them because we actually see the demand." In fact, they said, quote, "Azure AI growth is the demand signal. We're only going to buy or spend the capital assets if there's demand." So I have to say, that's pretty good. I mean, even though Lisa could have been more bullish, the fact that Microsoft buys from Lisa's AMD, and Microsoft is like, look, we're only going to buy if we see the demand, and we're buying because we see the demand, that's pretty good, So full respect to Microsoft here. You gotta hand it to them. That's pretty respectful. And I'll tell you, on a technical basis, I mean, I'm not sure. It's too early to say, oh, go all in on bull. But let's just say if every earnings call goes the way these two went, it's pretty good. I mean, remember, you still got a lot of big ones, right? You got ARM, you got Facebook, you got Amazon, you got Apple this week. So we're really, really early on this week. And a lot of things can change. But, I mean, there are definitely going to be people who look and go, hey, Microsoft's still down 365 basis points. It's like Microsoft 365. Okay. But look, it's down off of 468. Hey, I could get a discount. Hey, look at NVIDIA. Sure, it's up at 108 right now in after hours. But, what did it peak out at? 140. So there are going to be people who buy this dip. Oh, AMD, it's down at 148. Probably going to get rejected by 150 or the 160 line. We'll see. But it's way down from 227. So will this be a sale that gets bought? Well, obviously, some of the sale has already been bought in after hours, but I personally don't think after hours is a very robust indicator of how the day is going to go. In fact, I am concerned that institutional investors who generally trade during the day could use it as an opportunity to sell the rip. In other words, people who still had AMD or NVIDIA exposure could potentially use the jump tomorrow morning to sell. Now, I'm not trying to be bearish. In fact, I want to be crystal clear. If all of the earnings this week are like this, I will be forced to adjust to a more bullish position. Today, I'm like a 3.5 on the bear scale. And I'll tell you, these two earnings reports, they don't justify a 3.5 on the bear scale. These are pretty good earnings reports. I'll keep going with some of the data that we have. They say, we're going to continue to invest in the demand that we see. We feel well positioned, says Microsoft. Intelligent Cloud is expected to grow 18 to 22%. LinkedIn in the high single digits. 365 at 14%. Yeah, they'll have negative mid to high teens on on-prem server installs. Who cares? But they talk about, look, there's also a little bit of a lag that we're going to have between us investing in new chips, so that expense, and then when that actually turns into revenue. They say we should continue to have healthy growth. We are testing new generative search experiences to get more people using Bing. They also claim they're gaining share, which is interesting against Google. I want to see that. They say when people buy Microsoft Copilot seats, they're coming back for more. And this is also true on enterprise. They say commercial bookings were better than expected. Larger long-term commitments were better than expected. And when they're asked, was there anything unusual? They're like, no, commercial keeps executing. Guide did come in at the lower end, but the difference was because of certain non-AI segments within Europe, is what they're saying. And if you look at AMD's growth, their projections, hats off to them. The numbers were great. Listen, this year, quarter over quarter, this quarter over quarter growth. So when you look year over year, quarter to quarter, growth was 7%. Year over year growth, the whole year to the whole year, was 9%. They're now forecasting those numbers to move up to 15% and 16% respectively. In other words, that's really good. And so some people are going to look at AMD and they're going to go, maybe AMD's a cheap NVIDIA. Now, NVIDIA does not have the net operating margins that NVIDIA does. Remember, NVIDIA, they actually bring, I think it's like 30 cents on the dollar to the bottom line. I'll come look that up really quick. But I'm pretty sure NVIDIA brings like 30 cents to the bottom line. AMD brings like 5 cents to the bottom line. Oh, I'm sorry. NVIDIA is bringing 55.9 cents to the bottom line. Printer. Absolute printer of a company. AMD, on the other hand, on an annual basis, they're bringing about 22.5 cents to the bottom line. So you have about half of the net margin. And on the quarter basis, they only brought 5% to the bottom line. So that's expected to move up to that 20s range next quarter. So they're really coming out of a hole that they're digging out of here. But they're really excited about this 300 series. They're going to try to iterate just like NVIDIA is every single year. So they're going to go from the MI300 to the MI325 later this year, the MI350 probably at the beginning of next year. They don't expect to see a lot of MI325 and 350 revenues at the end of this year. Most of that will be in Q1. They did say that some income did come from supercomputers in Q4 and Q1, but most of this Q2, Q3 income they're seeing now is mostly MI300, which is basically like your H100 NVIDIA kind of competitor, right? That's essentially what they're trying to line it up with. So the MI300 is a Gen AI accelerator. And if you ever hear the Instinct series, that is what it is. It is the AMD Instinct MI300 series for hypercompute, hyperscalers, cloud. Anyway, regarding noise or regarding memory, Lisa Su's like, don't worry about memory. Like, there's a lot of noise over there. Focus on GPUs and CPUs. Thought that was interesting. She cheered the fastest production ramp they've ever done, said they're going to continue investing in software, talked about the acquisition of these silo team of scientists, which are useful for getting their products up and running. They think the investment cycle will continue to be strong. They say companies are just going to be forced to invest in AI, otherwise they'll lose company efficiency. They're making significant progress on their software stack, including their open source products. How long? Let's see. No, we already covered that. Yeah. Okay, so that's Microsoft. That's AMD. Very briefly, Starbucks actually missed across the board, but if I remember correctly, they missed across the board. But their stock is actually up. That doesn't sound right, though. But let me double check. I didn't think their numbers were that great, but because their comp sales missed. In the United States and in China. US was mostly close to expectation, -2. China was -14. They were looking at 10. And North America comps came in worse. International comps came in worse. Revenue came in worse. Yeah, they pretty much missed across the board. But, the CEO in the earnings call says they're seeing green shoots. And I guess that's all you have to say to get the stock to move, because now the sucker's up 4% in the after hours. We'll see how robust that is in the AM. We'll see. I don't know. I'm going to see what happens, and then we'll trade around it tomorrow morning. Excuse me. Okay, so bottom line out of all this, AMD, Microsoft, still seeing growth and investing around that. Microsoft blamed its small miss on non-AI in Europe. Eventually, that'll roll over, but it's not happening yet. Then you've got Intel plans to cut thousands of jobs. That's probably just a way of them saying they just don't have the ability to compete at this point. So I don't really think that matters. Yeah, exactly. They're going to keep doing this MI series. So they're going to go MI, 325, 350, 400, blah, blah, blah. They think the 350 will be relative to the Blackwell infrastructure. NVIDIA does not have the same margins as NVIDIA has. Oh, well, I meant to say NVIDIA doesn't have the same margins as AMD, so maybe I had a Joe Biden moment there. Oh, no, never go Joe Biden moment. That's all right. So anyway, okay, yeah, again, as far as trading, it's going to be really interesting because tomorrow morning you're going to open going into Jerome Powell. And I think expectations are really high for J. Powell, so I think you could either fall before J. Powell or after. But the problem with that is if you go bearish and the next set of earnings calls are as good as these, you're going to get cooked. So there's an interesting duality for how to play this tomorrow. So it'll be really interesting to see how to play it. Again, tomorrow, you're going to have ADP in the morning, Employment Cost Index. It is Fed Day. You'll also have Wingstop, MasterCard, blah, blah, blah. Then, Wednesday afternoon, this is going to be huge. Meta, ARM, Qualcomm, Carvana, Lam Research, Etsy, Western Digital, and Cheesecake. It's going to be a really big day, and it's all going to be right before Apple, Amazon, Intel, Coinbase, Roku, DraftKings, Block, Snap, Cloudflare, DoorDash, Rocket Mortgage, Roblox, Wayfair, Moderna, blah, 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 blah. So, a lot to come. Anything can happen by the time the bell opens tomorrow morning, and into the Fed and coming out of the Fed. So, we'll see. But anyway, make sure to subscribe to this channel. We're almost at 2 million subs on the main, which is really cool. Make sure also to check out the Meet Kevin Market live stream channel. That's where we stream all the earnings or morning market live stream. And then, of course, check out that coupon before the prices go up on the courses on building growth at meetkevin.com. Thank you so very much for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Now, I will push the button. Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is neither personalized financial advice nor real estate advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show should not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purpose of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services which we may benefit from. I personally operate an actively managed ETF and hold long positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuers other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. There you have it, folks. See you in the next one. Goodbye and good luck. These things that you told us here, I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take.
Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.